Of the Johnson County governments to order. I'm Mitch Gross, Mayor Pro Tem of Coralville. It's my honor to be leading this meeting today in the absence of Mayor Foster. And we'll just go around to my left to introduce who you are and what entity you are representing.
My name is Hywin with the City of Coralville.
Rod Sullivan, Johnson County Board of Supervisors.
Ashley Burmall, City of North Liberty.
Eric Siddig, City of North Liberty.
Roy Stan Porter, Johnson County Supervisor.
Mayor Bruce Teague, Iowa City.
Rakeisha Harrington, City of North Liberty.
John Green, Johnson County.
Laura Burgess, Iowa City City Council.
Pat Hayden, Johnson County Supervisor.
Keith Jones, City of Coralville.
Jane Finch, ICCSD Board.
Sean Harmson, City of Iowa City.
Kathy Knievel, Hill City Council.
Pauline Taylor, Iowa City City Council.
Mayor Louise Fromm, University Heights.
Stephanie Gahn, University Heights City Council.
Lisa Green, Douglas, Johnson County Supervisor.
Mike Knutson, Coralville City Council.
Excellent, thank you. And there's several people in the audience as well. And I say that because we here at Coralville are hosting, have allowed for a public comment period during this meeting. So we will be allowing 90-second public comments for any item that people would wish to address. I will be timing it on my phone so that we can make sure that everybody who wants to speak has that opportunity to do so. So please make your way if you choose to issue a comment, and please state your name, and then you'll have our full attention. Thank you.
My name is Sophie Benegas. I live in Iowa City. Good afternoon to you all. Before I begin, I want to thank you all for your collective work to improve Johnson County, our shared communities, and the lives of the most marginalized residents. My name is Sophie Benegas. I am the president of the University of Iowa Latino Medical Student Association and an institutional member of Escucha Mi Voz, Iowa. On behalf of my organizations, I'm here to speak about the Johnson County Direct Assistance Program. First, I want to express a sincere sense of gratitude. So far, over 1,900 people in our community have been notified that they are going to receive a $1,400 stimulus check. This is an incredible help to those hardest hit by the pandemic. Johnson County has done more than anyone else in Iowa to direct American Rescue Plan funds in this way. A special thanks to the county and the City of Iowa City. As you are likely aware, there is still work to be done. 319 applicants who are already deemed eligible have been notified they will not receive a payment. Many of these were residents that did not receive federal stimulus payments during the pandemic either. Payments that were given to the overwhelming majority of people. As I hope you would agree, that's a tough pill to swallow. The program can have a profound impact on people that are part of their collective community. We are all connected. Some have addresses in Iowa City, and some live just outside city limits in mobile home parks owned by out-of-state corporations. They are not residents of any municipality, but they are still part of our community. Others live in one city, work in a second, and take care of a family in a third. We are all one ecosystem that will benefit from and which provides for so many. In the parable of the lost sheep, the good shepherd leaves a flock of 99 sheep to go after one sheep who is lost. In a similar way, we cannot let the progress that has been done be overshadowed by a missed opportunity to find and help the 319 people who have been left behind. The good news is that we can close this gap. It's fitting that we are here at the joint entity meeting today because this can and should be a joint effort. We are less than $500,000 away from being able to help every single eligible applicant. That's less than 1% of the total ARPA funds allocated to the governments represented in this room.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Lady Sungura. I live on 9th Street in Coralville. I also received an email this week saying that I lost the lottery for the stimulus check. I do not understand why Coralville residents are losing the lottery, but everyone who lives in Iowa City didn't have to lose. I was counting on the money to pay bills, guys. Rent, electricity, foods are all going up, and I need the money to survive. I need a check to make up for icon I lost during the pandemic. You all received $54 million from the federal government, Johnson County and Iowa City community, $3.5 million to this program, but only spent $2.7 million. I do not think this is right or fair. Please do something to fix this. I am counting on you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hola, mi nombre es Nancy Raudales. Vivo en Iowa City, en las traílas del Scott Boulevard.
I live in Iowa City in the trailers of Scott Boulevard.
Soy un refugiado de Honduras y tengo 3 hijos y un cuarto que viene en camino.
I am a refugee from Honduras. I have 2 children and a room.
Como mujer embarazada, yo planeaba usar el cheque para comprar ropa, víveres, leche, pañales para mi bebé.
As a pregnant woman, I plan to use this check to buy food, milk, and things for my baby.
Pues ahora no sé qué voy a hacer.
Now I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yo luché todo el año pasado con Escucha mi voz
I fought all last year with Escucha mi voz.
y me alegro mucho de que los 1,900 personas que salieron beneficiadas, me alegro por ellas.
I'm very happy for the 1,900 people who received their checks.
Pero también me pongo triste por las 300 personas que no salimos beneficiadas,
But I'm very sad for the 300 people who did not receive the checks.
porque muchas de ellas, igual que yo, son madres de familia con hijos que alimentar.
Because them, just like me, are mothers of families that they need to take care of.
Y si ustedes se ponen a pensar, contando los niños, son más de 1,000 personas las que quedarían sin el beneficio del cheque.
And if you include those children, there are more than 1,000 people who were left without any benefits.
Y la mayoría de ellos son niños.
And the majority of them are children.
Y hoy estoy aquí personalmente para pedirles
And here I am personally to ask of you
que piensen en nosotras las mujeres y los niños
to think of us, women and children,
cuando ustedes tomen su decisión.
when you make your decision.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Ninoska Campos, vivo en Modern Minor Trailer Park en Scott Boulevard.
Hello, my name is Inos Campos. I live in Modern Manor Trailer Park on Scott Boulevard.
Como ustedes saben, las trailers pasaron a una corporación que en vez de ayudarnos, llegó a perjudicarnos.
As you guys know, that trailer park is owned by a large corporation that is not there to help us.
Ya que estas corporaciones llegaron a aumentar la renta.
And that corporation has increased our rent.
Gracias a Dios, a ustedes les consta que luché un año con Escucha mi voz y yo sí pude salir seleccionada en lo que fue la ayuda de estímulo directo.
Thank God that after a year of working very hard with Escucha mi voz, I was a winner of the check.
Pero aquí ando con mi hijo presente que él no salió seleccionado.
But here I am with my son, and he was not chosen.
Él perdió la lotería. Esto es un impacto negativo para los hogares.
He lost the lottery, and that is a negative impact for our household.
Ya que unos salieron beneficiados en el mismo hogar y otros no salieron beneficiados.
Some people in the same household were benefited and some were not.
Ustedes saben que cada uno de nosotros tenemos nuestros propios hijos, no les podemos dar todo. Nuestros hijos también contaban con este dinero porque también son trabajadores esenciales de Iowa City.
And you understand that we have children, and we can't provide everything for all of our children, especially those who are adults and who are working in Iowa City.
Mi hijo es uno de los ruferos que trabaja en Iowa City arreglando techos, que se va desde las 5 de la mañana y a veces son las 11 de la noche y todavía no llega de trabajar.
My son is one of those people who is a worker on roofs, and he often leaves for work at 5 a.m. and isn't back until 11.
Ahora, ¿qué pasa? Que todas estas 319 personas que fueron negativamente excluidas, eso está causando un caos en los hogares.
And the 319 people who were excluded from this benefit is causing chaos in our households.
Nosotros sabemos que el condado realizó su trabajo con los $2 millones.
We know that the county could have gotten the job done with the funds that they were
Y
allocated.
tuvieron que hacer el método lotería porque tal vez no les ajustaban sus $2 millones.
And they needed to do the lottery because maybe they spent maybe they would have needed to allocate to more people than that money.
Pero pedimos a la ciudad de Iowa City de que si puede ayudar a estas 319 personas que fueron excluidas.
But we ask Iowa City to please help those 319 people that were excluded.
Porque lamentablemente todas las personas que fueron excluidas son las que viven en los lotes de las trailers donde las corporaciones se han llegado a adueñar y han llegado a aumentar la renta.
Because
Thank
the
you.
people who were excluded live in the trailer parks.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Alarcón Avila.
My bad, sorry.
My name is Miriam Alarcón Avila. I live in Tiffin. I'm an artist, and I work in the Iowa City area. I'm here to ask. First I want to thank the Iowa City. I want to thank also Coralville for you applying some fund for the program. Also the Johnson County and the Iowa City, I am very thankful for you for helping all these people who are in very need. But we still have 319 people, and data that I just get it from the press citizen. I don't know if it's, the data is different. I am here to ask the City Council in Iowa City to please amend the contract that you guys did with the Johnson County and allowed to put the money for 319 more people in Iowa City. That way, Johnson County can cover the other 319 people, and that includes myself and many others. After the COVID-19, I was affected because my doctor's appointment was behind, and now I'm diagnosed with cancer. I was told by the doctors that I don't have too long, but I'm here fighting, and I'm here fighting for all the people who fight for 1 year and still struggling, like myself. I was one of the ones that was denied the money, as well as my son. So thank you. I hope you can consider this petition.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next item. Better Together update, City of Iowa City.
Can we speak yet? Public comment?
The 10 minutes expired. Go ahead. Go ahead, speak. Yep, go ahead.
We're just here, the three of us from Pickleball Johnson County. My name's Dwayne Miller. I'm an ambassador for the pickleball group, and we want to mainly let everyone know in the area that this is one of the fastest growing sports in America. It's growing like 40% every 2 years. And locally, we started in 2009 with about a dozen people in North Liberty. One of our businessmen that goes to Arizona in the winter brought the game back to the community in North Liberty. We had a dozen people. The next year, we had 69 members in our group. 3 years later, there was 109. 3 years later, after that, it was 188 in 2016. 3 years later, there were 335 in our membership. And today, as of yesterday, we had 477 members that are on our contact list. And we are here to let you know that we really appreciate facilities to play indoors and outdoors. And it's getting to be a problem, like even this morning at North Liberty Outdoors, they built us 6 brand new courts. They're so nice, and there's more people coming than can play, so we have to spread ourselves out a little bit. Jim, you want to just say a little bit? Okay. He has some important news about how a community in Alabama built a facility that really helped.
Thank you. My name's Jim Broffett. And first of all, I want to tell you that I tallied up 31 days of registrations for playing pickleball in Johnson County. We have a website we use that we sign up for when we're going to play. These grossly undercount the number of players, though, because there's a lot of people that don't know about that website that don't use it. And when we go out there, we'll see parents with their kids playing. They don't register on this, or college students, et cetera. But of the data we have, in 31 days from June 16th to July 16th, just a couple days ago, we had an average of 81 registrations per day that were playing in Johnson County. And I just wanted to point out that there's, I go to Alabama, where my daughter lives, in Auburn, Alabama, and there's another city next to Auburn, Opelika, which is just like, this is very similar to Iowa City, Coralville in size. Auburn is about 10,000 or 11,000 fewer than Iowa City, but Opelika is 10,000 more than Coralville. So it's very similar, and they built, in 2019, they built 12 outdoor courts, beautiful courts, with a canopy over them. And people come from a wide area to play there. They're building 12 more just like it now. In fact, they may be finished. But I just want to say those first 12 courts they built cost. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Better Together update, City of Iowa City.
All right, we appreciate this opportunity to have this on the agenda because it is truly a joint effort with the Better Together. And we'll have you come over here and just give an update on Better Together. Kim Casco.
Great. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Well, thank you for having us this afternoon. I'm Kim Casco, President and CEO of the Iowa City Area Business Partnership, and I'm here with my colleagues, Nancy Bird from the Iowa City Downtown District and Katie Gerlach from the Better Together 2030 Steering Committee. And we're here on behalf of the Better Together 2030 planning team to share with you the outcome of about 10 months or so of work to develop a vision for a shared future for Johnson County. Our plan in the next 10 to 15 minutes is to give you a brief refresh on where this all started, talk a little bit about the process we used to get to the vision, and then to reveal the vision itself. So next slide, please. We're going to do this in chapters here because it's a little bit like a story. Starting with chapter 1, which we call Project Better Together, a collective response to COVID-19. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring you back to March of 2020 when COVID-19 first hit. Next slide, please. So when COVID first hit in March of 2020, the 4 community and economic development organizations, the Iowa City Area Business Partnership, the Iowa City Area Development Group, the Iowa City Downtown District, and Think Iowa City, really kind of put together our teams to really drive collective targeted action to really get our community through this initial hit of COVID. We then pulled together our communications and our marketing teams to really put out as much information as quickly as possible to our community so that we had the latest information. And then we pulled together a joint task force that included our own orgs, but cities, counties, business entities, healthcare organizations, just a cross-section of folks. Many of you were included in that as well. And really the goal of that task force, which we dubbed Project Better Together, was to help the region recover from the impacts of this ongoing pandemic, as well as reshape a stronger and more resilient future. The task force met every Friday throughout 2020. A lot of it involved just sharing information and updates on the state of COVID, and then we would determine actions pretty much that day that we would put into implementation that day. So our approach was initially these short-term targeted actions to accelerate recovery, but it was always meant to get to this long-term forward-thinking solutions that would really result in a renewed future state economy. Little did we know that we really wouldn't be getting to those long-term solutions until 2021. We learned a lot in this year, the importance of agility and continuous shifts, the importance of inclusivity, the importance of collaborating across sectors and across silos. And I think we learned ultimately, in fact, that we are better together. Next slide, please. This is just an example of some of the things we did accomplish together. We did a gift card campaign called Holding Our Own that drove about almost $1 million in economic impact for our small businesses. And out of that, a piece of that campaign, as well as contributions from Johnson County and the City of Iowa City, we were able to to grant about 33 grants to BIPOC and immigrant-owned businesses, which were some of the hardest impacted businesses. We also set up neighborhood nests across the community that helped children, help them with school instruction who had parents who had to go to work. Put up signs for healthcare workers to help boost morale and encourage them. There were just a ton of things that we did. And again, we just learned a lot from that we continue to take with us. So now we're in the phase of, so what, now what, and shifting, back to, what does long-term look like coming out of this? So hence, heading into chapter 2, and I'm going to invite my colleague Nancy here to talk about chapter 2.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Bird of the Iowa City Downtown District, and we're really pleased to be talking to you today. One of the standard responses of how are you doing these days for me is I'm so much better than last year and I'm so much better than the year before. Because we have all been through a lot, every one of us in this room. We're still kind of working through the impacts of COVID and all the other economic impacts that came with it, and are trying to kind of push forward and respond to those issues. Well, Kim mentioned the chapter 1 of what do you do in chaos, and I think we really built some great relationships with our community leaders as well as the people of this community that is impacted by all the work that we do. And the key is well, what do we do now that we've kind of come through the major impacts? We need to continue the momentum of working together in a better way. So I would share that last year we started thinking about, we've done a great job of communicating through this thing. What's next and how do we keep it moving? Because I think we've got a lot of really great things going on here in Johnson County that we need to just keep pushing forward. We knew that we needed to develop a clear, data-driven perspective of the region's future. And in past, look at economic development. Today it just means so much more than that. It really, we need to address the needs of people and what they need to live in this community and feel like they have a living wage, that they love they have a great job, they have food, basic shelter. All those things are really critical. We need to hear the voices of everyone, and I think everyone has taken a look at all of our organizations of have we been doing that in the past, and what do we need to do to change in the future to make sure that we're more inclusive in these efforts. And we need to define priorities for what's next, and can we do it all together? So I think that the next steps here are continuing to push forward. So those were the objectives when we started talking about Better Together 23rd and developing a vision plan for Johnson County. We had a lot of really great local leaders and communities that stepped forward. You all know and have been part of this process, but there are a number of cities that we know that need to also be included, and other private companies, and we want to build on the momentum of making sure that we can invest in other ways to make sure the initiatives that we do line up can get funded. We had a wonderful steering committee, and the steering committee helped us shape some of those opportunities and initiatives that we could continue to push forward. I'm not going to go through everybody here, but we really did the best that we could. There's always opportunity to do better, right? To make sure that we had a really great, very wide net cast to make sure this was as inclusive of a process as possible. And it's not all about economic development in traditional terms, but it's about social services, it's about housing, it's about schools, and that leadership we invited on the steering committee to help guide this process that we move forward. So this vision that we're going to talk about here today that has been developed, I just want to talk a little bit about the process because it was a little bit unique even for me. Because I love planning, I think it's great, but it really took a traditional planning process and added a whole bunch of the future trends, and we hired a futurist to help us support that process. And I think it made everyone a little bit uncomfortable to look at what those trends are and what's coming at us from a national perspective, from a global perspective, about the environment, about the economy, about all these things that are shifting. So it looked at 36 different trends. We had 32 steering committee members that you saw. We had partners on our group that developed 30 different community circle participants to really dive deep into what additional people that we needed to reach. We had 3 tri-chairs. The University of Iowa, Barb Wilson, the president of the university, was a tri-chair. Kate Moreland with ICAD was a tri-chair, and then Angie Jordan of the South District was a tri-chair. Really great, smart folks to help us guide this vision. Then we released a survey for people to add input to. We had it translated into 4 different languages. And we had a number of people who were really just kind of voting. It wasn't a true vote, but just giving some input on the initiatives that had been identified by this big group of people. There was also what we called a big sort, where we got 80 different people in a room to talk about these initiatives. So the process was, you know, it took a long time to really kind of harness in what are the initiatives Johnson County can work on together, all of you in the room, for the next steps here. And is that my last slide? Okay, so with that, I'm going to introduce you to someone who's super exciting to me, Katie Gerlach, who is our new Executive Director of the Better Together 2030 Vision Plan. And that's important for a number of reasons. First of all, Katie is phenomenal. She's an attorney by background, but she's got a really depth of knowledge in the social services. And she's also one person that will be here to push this plan forward to make sure it gets implemented with the support from everyone in this room. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to you, Katie.
Thanks all for, first, your amazing support of this entire planning process. It's been an incredibly long, intense, and an inclusive process. So it's been really slow going, but I think what you're going to see on the next slide and in this vision that we're handing out is that it speaks to us and it speaks to our community, and we're really excited to get to work with all of you. So you'll see that the 2030 vision for Better Together 2030, we're using 3 guiding principles and commitments to each other. These are really critical, that we're using representative leadership to dismantle systemic inequity and deepen a culture of inclusion and belonging. Second, we're going collaboratively. We're going to be working with public, private, nonprofit, university players in all of these initiatives. And last, we're going to use a growth mindset, have the willingness to try new things, and be agile as we go. We're not stuck with the plan. The plan is evolving, and we're working all together. So we have 5 focus areas. The first is champions of the natural environment. We want to make the Iowa River a signature attraction for residents and visitors. We want to deepen partnerships between the University of Iowa and regional stakeholders to develop and execute sustainable environmental practices. The next initiative is probably one of our more exciting pillars that you'll see very visibly, and that's authentic, vibrant neighborhoods and districts. You're already seeing this work in the South District in Iowa City, and we've all been very proud to support that work. But we know we need to continue to empower and fund neighborhoods to identify their assets and opportunities, much as the South District did. We want to experiment with affordable home design, but we also know that we need to support affordable housing initiatives as an economic development priority for the region. Then we want to ensure that neighborhoods all have affordable childcare. And moving on, we need a well-connected mobile region where we invest in a reliable regional transit system and ensure that all residents have affordable high-speed internet. We know that these will all lead to a thriving, inclusive economic ecosystem, and we'd like to reimagine human and social services because we know that our community's commitment is to be a great place for all people. We're really looking forward to working together with you. But what's next? You're going to be hearing a lot from us in the coming months. We're planning to visit each of you at your meetings over the next couple of months and speak to you directly about how your community can get involved in this vision and strategic plan. We want to hear from you about how you can get involved and what your community's needs are. We need to build interest for involvement across the public, but everything we're going to do has a bias towards action, and we want to make sure that everything we do is not just a plan and not just something that's written on paper, but that it's something we're taking action on every day. We'll build those action steps on these pillars we just described, but most importantly, I want to ask each of you today to hold us accountable for this plan and to hold yourselves accountable for investment and public support for it. And with that, we'd like to take any questions and offer an opportunity to look through this plan. We do have a website. It's growing, and you can check it out. The plan is available electronically there if you'd like to share it with anybody.
Any questions?
So we will be, oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm curious, your first point here about making the Iowa River an area attraction, it is in part, but there's room for improvement, so where are we going with that?
Where are we going with that? So that's what we want to hear from each of you that abut the river. So Coralville, we know, is doing a lot of great development over by the riverfront landing, but there's also incredible recreational opportunities up and down the entire Iowa River that are ready for activation. As you'll read in the plan, we've turned our back on the river for many, many years after the floods, but there's so many amazing opportunities there. And I think you'll know that Coralville, that we've already been building support with Coralville, with your city manager, and we just need to, also Iowa City, there's so many different grant opportunities coming up that we're going to be really driving.
Any other questions? Yeah, Charlie.
Charlie Eastham with School District. I noticed under your second vision, the vibrant neighborhoods and districts, the fifth point is ensuring all neighborhoods have affordable child care. As you probably know, the school district is, we're trying to expand availability of child care in districts, in the district itself. Are we, at this point, are we coordinated enough in terms of people involved?
So we have been coordinated, but I think there's always more room for coordination and collaboration. The neighborhood nests were really successful because of that. 4Cs and the neighborhood centers have been incredibly involved with the Child Care Coalition that formed locally, and we're so lucky that they did form in 2019 because they were ready to step in and help address these problems. But we know that 4-year-old preschool is a critical gap that's in every single neighborhood, and that the school district plays a huge role in. So I think coupled with that, knowing that we have the school district support, Matt Degner was on the steering committee. We continue to have support of the school district. We have staff members on the South District SMID board, and we're making sure that people are quite involved. But there's always more room for collaboration.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, GuideLink update from the City of Iowa City.
And we're going to invite Abby, who is the Executive Director of GuideLink. And I'll just tell you, if you haven't been over there to look at the GuideLink Center, please go. It'll really bring whatever she's going to talk about really to life.
Can I speak from here and present, or do I need to?
No, you can go from there if you'd like. Yep.
Over here?
Yep.
Okay, good.
If you want to, yep.
Because I might jump around a little bit, so thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. No, I already did. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. Again, my name's Abby Ferenzi. I'm the Executive Director of GuideLink Center here in Iowa City. So I wanted to start off by giving a quick recap of the last year. It's been, we've been open almost a year and a half now, and I think everyone's fairly aware of GuideLink Center services, but I just want to retouch on that, and then I'm going to end with some statistics to let you know where we're all at. So as you know, Abbey Health is the managing entity of GuideLink Center. Johnson County Board of Supervisors, we work closely with them, and then we contracted with other area providers to provide services at GuideLink Center. So for instance, I'm an Abbey Health employee, but I'm one of 2 or 3 Abbey Health employees. The majority of the people working at GuideLink Center are from the companies we contract with, which are Prelude Behavioral Services. They run our medically monitored withdrawal program, as well as our sobering unit, the first sobering unit to open in the state of Iowa. We also contract with Community Crisis Services and Food Bank. They employ our triage counselors at GuideLink Center. These triage counselors are trained just like mobile crisis counselors, except they're not mobile. They stay at GuideLink Center, but they're able to do the same things that mobile crisis counselors are trained to do. The crisis just comes to them versus them being dispatched out. We also contract with Abbey Mental Health Center. We have psychiatrists on staff, not 24/7, but we do have them Monday through Friday. And that's actually an additional service to GuideLink Center. It's not really required, but we definitely saw that it was a need. So the Mental Health Center has a few contracted psychiatrists working with us there. They also oversee the crisis stabilization services, where someone can stay up to 5 days, and crisis observation. We also work with the Johnson County Ambulance. They staff our sobering unit. and along with some staff from Prelude Recovery Assistance as well. So back in February of last year, we just started off with triage counseling, and we had crisis stabilization open, 4 beds. We started off pretty slow. We only took referrals from the mobile crisis team or area law enforcement. We wanted to work out some of the kinks first before we open more services. GuideLink Center is urgent care for adults with substance use and mental health struggles, and we're combining a lot of things under one roof, which makes it really special, but also makes it a little challenging at times. So we need a little time to figure things out. But by July of last year, we had opened our medically monitored withdrawal unit, detox unit. We were taking referrals 24/7, including walk-ins. Our sobering unit opened. We had more crisis stabilization beds open up. And as of last month, our last service, crisis observation, where someone is observed by nurses for up to 23 hours, opened as well. So I can go over some statistics for you here. I was going to see if anybody had any questions. There we go. Okay. So to the left, you're going to see a report from when we opened to the month of June. We meet monthly with an advisory board. We also present to the Johnson County Board of Supervisors and the East Central Region. So we like to give a snapshot of where we were versus where we are now. So as of the end of June, GuideLink Center had a total of about 1,800 encounters. That's when someone walks through our front door, which has led to about 1,400 admissions to one of the GuideLink Center programs. You can see how many triage and crisis counseling services were completed. Crisis stabilization as one of the highest amounts. They were the first to open, followed by medically monitored withdrawal. Crisis observation is just at 12, but they just opened, so we're hoping to see some more referrals there as well, and 310 in sobering. I want to mention that just because someone isn't admitted to one of our service units at GuideLink Center, that doesn't mean they didn't get services there. When they meet with that triage counselor, they receive instant crisis counseling and support. And sometimes some of the people that walk in, especially those who just walk in or come with a family member, that's really all they needed. They needed to talk to somebody, and they couldn't necessarily get in to see a therapist or a doctor. You know what some of those wait times are and what some of the barriers there are with that. So they come in, they see one of the crisis counselors, maybe they get some resources, and then they go on their way. So just to kind of walk down the majority of our referrals, again, I'm still on the left side here. That's a comprehensive report. Majority is walk-ins now, which tells me that more people are learning about GuideLink Center, which is great. Healthcare providers, typically local ERs or other psychiatrists, are our second highest referral source, along with law enforcement at 280 from law enforcement, 149 from mobile crisis outreach, and on down. We track a lot of statistics at GuideLink Center. Not only because we want to be able to track and report on them, but we're also seeing what's working and what's not working. Who we're reaching, who we're not reaching. So I can dive into a little bit of that data here, but this is just kind of the overall snapshot. And then you can see on the right, this is a monthly report. So like I said, we report to our advisory board, Johnson County Board of Supervisors, every month, and we talk about what the previous month was like. So you can see in the month of June, we had 197 encounters that led to 154 admissions. 43 individuals received services but were not admitted. The majority of those individuals received services and had a positive outcome from that, but sometimes people who come to GuideLink Center really need a higher level of care, or despite all of our best efforts, we just don't have what they need in that moment. So we're constantly working to try to see what we can do at GuideLink Center, and quite honestly to our system as a whole, to make sure that everybody has a place to go in time of crisis. Out of those 197 encounters, another thing we track is how often we have to transport someone to the hospital via ambulance. We are an urgent care center. That's somewhat expected, but we also want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to try to treat people at GuideLink Center versus having to have them go to the ER. Nothing's wrong with the emergency room, but I think if many of you have been there or accompanied loved ones, not everyone in the emergency room necessarily needs to be there. They just had nowhere else to go. So we're trying to fill in that gap. In the month of June, out of the 197 encounters, we had to transport 17 people to the ER, either when they first presented at GuideLink Center, sometimes they're already in a medical emergency, or during their stay. So that's about 8%. So just wanted to let you know we track that as well. And then you can see we really break it down. This is for the month of June. How many individuals were admitted into our crisis stabilization program versus sobering. Sobering started off a little slow, like everybody else. We had some staffing problems. We were really trying to staff up and make sure we were open 24/7. And some weeks we were better at it than others. So we started out with 8, 9, 10 people who came to our sobering unit during the month, and now we're up to 42. And you can see we track also, what people's blood alcohol or the PBT, how long it takes to do the screening. And then there was the highest, we get a lot of referrals, and actually this unit is accepting the most referrals at this time, is our medically monitored withdrawal unit. What we have at GuideLink Center isn't really matched many other places across the state, so some people actually travel from across the state to get those withdrawal services. But the vast majority of the people we're serving at GuideLink Center are from the Iowa City, Coralville area, and Johnson County is the majority. But we do get people, we don't refuse anyone based on where they live. So some things we've learned in this first year, we've learned that about 2 to 8 p.m. is when we're going to see most people walk through our door, and not really on the weekends. Tuesdays and Thursdays seem to be our most popular days. We've learned a lot about workflows and how to learn, not just from our internal partners who are working there, but from our external partners, because it benefits all of us and the clients we serve if we work together with law enforcement, with the ERs, with local providers. We're trying to listen to each other, what's working, what's not working. So I spend a lot of times in meetings with places like Shelter House, law enforcement, we just met today, we meet weekly. What's working, what's not working, what can we do better? And I think it's part of an ongoing quality improvement effort that we have at GuideLink Center, and that takes a lot of communication to make that happen. We have our wait time for law enforcement when they bring someone to GuideLink Center down to 7 minutes on average. When we first opened up, sometimes law enforcement was in there 30, 40 minutes. Now we're down to 7 minutes on average, and that's great. They can be on their way, and the crisis counselors there can do what they do best, which is work with that person in crisis. We've increased our marketing. I have a lot of materials to hand out, both printed and on our website. We have printed materials in other languages, but we're trying to update our website to make sure that everybody knows that they are welcome to utilize GuideLink Center's services. Our projection for the next year, so we opened on an incremental basis last year, so we really think this next fiscal year we could see as much as a 50% increase in services that we're providing people. We see it jump each month. The need is out there, as I'm sure you're all aware, and our job is to be available and accessible and help as many people as we can in that time of crisis. I want to thank everybody. Without the support of Johnson County, the local municipalities, the region, this wouldn't be possible. It was a huge effort that took a steering committee, lots of towns in this area getting together to provide a place that is warm and welcoming. It's an alternative to the ER. It's definitely an alternative to jail. Many of the people, I think last month our jail diversion rate was 20%. People were able to use the sobering unit or other units for care versus having to go to jail. And I'm sure it is to you, but that's really important to me because I think all of us want to see people who have mental health or substance use struggles get the right treatment at the right time, in the right place. And that's GuideLink Center a lot of the time. So we're filling a nice niche, filling in some gaps. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I think question I would ask is, as you talk about filling in niches and gaps, my day job is in the schools. And I'm just thinking about, this is adult only, but then when I think about the wait list for juveniles to get this type of care, and I was part of the original discussion here, but I'm just wondering if we've ever got to a point where we talk about expanding services to juveniles as well.
I'm aware that the East Central region is trying to expand crisis stabilization units for adolescents. I hear this comment a lot. There are a lot of kids. In fact, we sometimes get parents specifically who bring in teenagers or adolescents. We end up counseling the parents, but we can't admit the children to a unit. So we are very aware of that. Whenever I do a lot of presentations locally across the state and even across the country, and trying to say as much as we can that we absolutely need this for children as well. I can tell you there are efforts being made. I know specifically Community Mobile Crisis is part of some efforts, Tanager Place in Cedar Rapids, to get not only more mobile crisis response to the schools in the community, but sometimes people need a place to go, and that's a crisis stabilization unit or whatever you want to call it. So even though this isn't, children's services isn't exactly my wheelhouse at this time, I talk about it whenever I get the opportunity. And I think people are listening. We're just a little behind on getting it for children as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, please, Rod. Yeah.
Not a comment so much, or a question so much as a comment, but, everybody took a kind of a leap of faith when we did this. I mean, there was a tremendous investment from the cities of North Liberty and Coralville and Iowa City in, taking a risk and building a building. And I appreciated that then, and I appreciate that now. And I really do think it is paying off. I mean, when you start to think about those 7 minutes, I just want to remind people, when you talk about that 7 minutes dropping a person off and then the officers back out on the street, the city managers in the room could tell you, previously when you had an officer pick a person up, if they were going to take them to the jail, well, they're off the street for 2 hours. If they were going to take them to the UIHC emergency room, they're off the street probably for the rest of the shift. So city managers have seen that expense for years and years, and hopefully that is really going to start showing back up in your city budgets, as you're not having to call people in to fill some shifts or to overstaff like maybe you previously had to do. We're definitely seeing the benefit on the cost of the jail side. It's a definite positive, but it's also still very expensive to run GuideLink. And one of the things that I think we haven't really tapped into yet is the University of Iowa, because there's a tremendous benefit, I think, there to the emergency room. And right now, although they've been great in terms of participating in committees and things, we haven't seen anything financial yet. And so we're going to continue to keep asking for that to try to get some help there, and that should help everybody as well.
Thank you, Rod. Any other questions? Comments? Yeah, go Mike.
Yeah, I'm at the hospital and aware of some of the issues we have in our ED. I was going to ask if UIHC is contributing anything, and would certainly strongly support that. We are constantly looking for ways to lighten the load on our ED staff, and this sounds set up for that very, very effectively. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you. We meet with UIHC, also Mercy Hospital, along with other providers regularly. But I think it takes, even though we've been open a little over a year, it still takes like workflows and for people to figure out who's a good fit for us versus who really does need to go to the ED. But UIHC representatives, I was just on the phone with somebody today, are definitely in the conversation. So I just want to let you know that is happening.
And the University of Iowa was instrumental in the planning stages, the steering committee, executive committee, lots of that. And then our medical director is a doctor at University of Iowa as well. So there's been that part. But as Rod said, other forms of help would be most welcome. But yes, they've been a part of the conversation and planning all along.
Yes, and GuideLink Center does bill insurance for the services we can. We receive some support, obviously, from Johnson County and from the East Central region, but there's always going to be a gap there when you're providing 24/7 services at this urgent care level, especially the way we're doing it. We're really trying to screen in as many people as we can, and we might have someone come in who presents to the sobering unit, uses our withdrawal unit, and then it turns out they had an underlying mental health condition, and then they go to our crisis stabilization unit. And all of those things are addressed under one roof. And you can imagine how helpful that is to that person. There's still some gaps in regards to funding for sure, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any items not on the agenda, other business that anybody from an entity would like to bring up? All right, and the next item is to establish the next meeting date and location. I'm not sure who keeps track of this rotation.
We provided something the last time for.
So I do think
so
it's
in the last time's notes.
Okay.
I think it's Iowa City's turn. October 17th.
October 17th in Iowa City.
Maybe we could circulate the calendar again for everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned.